There are roughly two different kinds of users of Excel database, and that is the people that actually type in their own data into the sheets, and you've got the other type where they're importing the data, they're bringing it in from some other source, and to save time and so forth. If you're the former, where you're entering in row after row, or somebody else also is doing the same thing, what you want to make sure of is that only certain kinds of data go into each of these cells, or each of the fields, I should say, for each of the rows of data here. So I want to cover what we call data validation input rules, in essence. So on the first one here, the first column, we want to make sure that dates are entered only in that column, and the dates have to be after January 1st, 2015, let's say. All right. Now, what you have to do is kind of figure out how far you want this to go. If you want your data validation to be all the way to the bottom of the worksheet, what you'd have to do is select, let's say, from column A all the way to the bottom. Now, to do that, we can actually click on the first one here. We can hold down the Shift key and the Control key. Now, because there's data there, and we hit the Control Shift down, it will just go that far. But if you want it to go further, you would just hit Control Shift down again, and that will take you all the way to the bottom of the worksheet. Okay? Now, once we've done that, I'm just going to go back to the top here using a little elevator here just to get our bearings back. Okay, so there we are. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the Data tab, all right, and then over here we have the Data Validation button. So we're just going to click onto that, and we have to tell it what we want to have it put in there as a rule, and that's going to be, first of all, allow what? Well, not any value, but rather dates, okay? And the date that we're putting in throughout this entire column has to be greater than, as I said, January 1st, 2015. So we would just go January 1st, 2015. That would be it. If you want some sort of a message to pop up saying, hey, you made a mistake here, you can go over here to the error alert, all right? And you can say, show this error alert, and you can click onto there, and you can say warning, or you can have like a information, something like that. I think the warning really, and I think stop you is even better. It's red, right? And it says already, kind of like just a default in here, it just says enter only a date. That's fine. But I think more specifically, we could say something, well, we could say something like enter dates after 1/1/2015, all right? And the message is, that would be like the title on the top there, and we can just put on here, you try to enter a date before 1/1/2015, something like that. So you hit OK on that, and that's it. So now what happens is that later on, if I try to type in, well, actually, if I try to type in, let's say 1/8/2014, I'll get that message there. It says you try, see, so at the top it says enter dates after 1/1/2015. Then it says you try to enter a date before that date. And you can say retry, hit cancel, get out of there, whatever. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that when the sales rep name is entered in this second field here, that it only is of a part, it has to belong to a particular list. There's about 15 reps that we have, and we want to make sure that only those names go in here, okay? So to do that, we'll, again, just like we did for the first one here, we'll select Control Shift down and then down again, all right? Then we'll go back to the top here real quick. All right, then we'll go back into data, go back to our data tool, or our data tool, our data validation here, right? And we're going to change this to now list, all right? And then the source, in other words, what's the list going to be? Now, normally what you can do too is you can have the list be out in one of your columns. Maybe you put out on column Z or something like that, and you can put them one after the other. It doesn't matter what row you're on, just as long as you put them one after the other, working your way down the column. And then you can go to here and actually have it go, and can kind of drag over here or scroll over there, select that range, and that would go in there. All right, but we don't have that. We actually have this in our heads, and I already have it in here, so I'm just going to paste it in here. But you just end up typing all those names in there. So there they are. Oop. So there they are. All right. And there's a few more to the left there, but there's about 15 of them. And then, that's all you really need to do. I mean, you could have error messages and things like that pop up. I guess we could go over to the error alert and say, if they try to type in a different name, we can say only from the list, and you can put in there, you entered, someone outside the list, or something like that, right? And that could be, I kind of like that stop one there. Okay, so we'll do that. We hit OK. There we go. Now what it does is it gives you like a little drop down arrow. Now you can still just type in the name. If you know the name and type in Rose or King or something like that, you can also hit the little drop down and pick from the list there. There would be your names there, right? I guess there's not 15, but you get the idea. Now if I try to go in here and I type in, let's say somebody like Tamala, which I know is not in the list, so I'll just type that in. Something like that. Enter that in. It says you entered someone outside the list, only from the list, blah, blah, blah. I can retry or just hit cancel and get myself out of there. But that's all you have to do with that one. And you can do the same kind of thing with, I guess, the type, the zones, the levels, I mean, so and even the country there, the categories. So a lot of that stuff, even the product. I mean, if you want to get a long product list. Now, when it comes to your numbers over at the end, we want to make sure in both of these that only numbers are entered. You know how some people can maybe type in an I guess, or a 1, and then they'll type in 2 capital O's or something like that. I don't think people even do that anymore, but let's just say you have a problem with that and you want to guard against that. So we can make sure of that doesn't happen. And what we'll do here is we'll just select the 2 here, all right, and then we'll just do our Control, Shift, and then down arrow key, goes all the way to the bottom as far as selection, and then we'll go back up to the top here. Then we'll go back into our data validation. We'll go over to the, now I think in this case, we might already have, yeah, I think I already had that in here for some reason, so pretend like it wasn't there. So what you do is you go in here and say, okay, I'm going to choose, whole number, right? And it has to be greater than or equal to 0, so they can't put like 0 in there. So that would be, something there. If you think that might be a problem, then you can just say, well, I guess you got to put something in there, but I guess that would be okay there. Now, for the error message, error alert here, we've already got one in here, and it just says whole numbers only. All right. You can even go as far as you may have entered text in place of numbers or something like that, right? So whatever, but you can do that, and of course you can pick the kind of warning you want there. Maybe I'll do the information one this time. So you got that, you hit OK, we're set. So now if somebody tries to go in here and type in, let's say, a 0, all right? Well, I guess, oh yeah, we're greater than or equal to 0. So if we type in, let's say, -1, then you'll get that. or if they, I mean, cancel out there, or if they try to type in, let's say, the number 1, but then they try to put in 2 O's to be like zeros, enter that in, you get the same kind of message there. So hopefully that this will kind of get you started, you know, with making sure that that you can have people, or even yourself, enter in the proper information. And this is a great little tool for that. So hopefully you can maybe use that in there. Take care.